So, Spotify Wrapped just came in, and it looks like I'm in the top 0.01% of Radiohead listeners. That's awesome. They're like my favourite band. I can't believe I'm a top listener. No way, me too, except I'm only top 0.1%. That's basically the same thing, right? Yeah, mate, same over here. I mean, I'm top 0.01% again. You know, I'm a bit of a big boy. Whoa, mate, I'm in like the top 20%, and I don't even have them on Spotify, you know. I still bang it out on the old CD player, mate. Like a real man. Hey, me too. Hey, I'm top 0.8%. I did it as well. Me too. I'm 1%. I'm top 0.1%. I'm What the hell is going on here? How are all these different people in the top percentages of Radiohead fans? How the hell did this guy make it in? How comes is it that every time like Spotify Wrapped comes along, we're all in our favourite artists' top listen? And this doesn't just go for indie and underground listeners as well. I know that Radiohead isn't underground, okay? It's just a good example. Shut the fuck up. Even for the big league artists like Taylor Swift and The Weeknd, both of whom have 100 million. I'm doing the wrong fucking thing here, man. 100 million listeners each. Their fans seem to score at the very top of that pile all the time. Fucking Morgs was like a top 0.1% Weekend listener or something like that. Fucking Morgs! If that doesn't set off alarm bells that something is up over at Spotify, then I don't know what will. So, what is up? Well, I did a little bit of research, and by research I mean one Google search, and I couldn't really find anyone or anything that attempted to explain or even ask why this is always the case, which means that we're, you know, left to speculate. And luckily for all of you watching at home, I'm basically a fucking like mega genius, you know, Einstein, and got a couple little theories as to how the hell this is possible. So my first theory, and probably the more probable one for this, is that what Spotify Wrapped counts as a listener isn't a fan. So Radiohead here, you can see they have 26 million monthly listeners, right? And so if you do the math for it, being a 0.005% Radiohead listener means that you would be 1 in 1,300 people, but you're not. So what I think is going on is that Spotify doesn't count you out of your favorite artist's monthly listeners, but instead out of the total amount of people that have listened to your favorite artist throughout the year. So as far as Spotify is concerned, the guy who has Creep in his playlist and is like, you know, listened to it in like January is as much of a listener of Radiohead as the guy who fucking has all the albums on vinyl and CD and cassette and like sucked off Tom York in 1997. In Spotify Wrapped's eyes, both of them are Radiohead listeners, but obviously for us it's, you know, different. One of them is like an actual fan and the other one is just a guy who likes Creep. And the reason why I think this is the most probable theory out of mine is because of my sister's Spotify Wrapped. She does not listen to Spotify at all. She's like 9, right? So she can give a shit about Spotify Wrapped. But when Wrapped eventually came in, her top artist was this fucking thing called Poopy Man, right? And she was in the top 47 or something, like 40 something % of listeners, and she had listened to it for 30 minutes. 30 minutes is enough to be in the top 40% of fucking Poopy Man listeners. And this is why I think it is, because like the other 59% of people probably just put on like whatever the fuck Poopy Man makes for like 30 seconds and then clicked off because it's shit, and then they were counted in Spotify Wrapped as a listener, right? If we're really thinking about it, most people probably just put on Creep, listen to it for like once or like 30 seconds even, and go, nah mate, this song is fucking shit, and then, you know, click off, but they're still counted as a listener. So really the total number of Radiohead listeners for like 2023 is going to be much higher than 26 million. I mean, look how many fucking streams Creep has. This is probably explains like why for bigger artists like The Weeknd as well, most people don't actually listen to The Weeknd. Like they listen to Blinding Lights or fucking Save Your Tears or some shit off The Idol. But most people will just put it on once, or like some club somewhere will put it on, or a coffee shop or whatever, and every time that song is played, that's counted as a listener, right? The coffee shop account or the club or whatever, that's counted as a Weeknd listener. So yeah, you get my point. Next fucking theory. So So for my next theory as to how we can all be top fans of our favorite artists is that we're not. Spotify plays with a lot of numbers in order to make us feel like we're a top listener when we're not really like a super fan. When Spotify Wrapped comes around on social media, there's a huge range of numbers. Like there's 0.005% listeners, and then you've got like top 1% listeners, top 2%, top 0.1%, top 0.5%, top 0.05%, top 0.01, top 5%, top 6%, right? Now all of these are like the top percentages of numbers, but the problem is that a real, like the proper superfans are always going to be in like the top 0.05%, and people who just like their favorite artists are always going to be like 1%, 2%, fucking like maybe 0.1% if they left it on overnight or something by accident. So there isn't really necessarily anything wrong with this, you know. The numbers are real, even though they are kind of skewed because of how Spotify, you know, calculates listeners, quote unquote. But whatever, the numbers are real, but Spotify certainly does sort of skew them so that, you know, we think we're more special than we actually are with like the top 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, etc., right? I think it goes up to like 10 and it just starts counting in tens. But the question is like, why? What benefit is it to them from like fucking skewing all these numbers and making us feel so amazing? Well, I got a couple theories for that as well, so let's get to it. Alright, so why does Spotify do this then? What is the benefit to the company? Well, first of all, it makes us feel more connected to our artists. Whether the number says like 0.005 or 1%, to us we sort of register that as the same thing, really. And that makes us feel good, you know. Oh look, I'm the top 1% Radiohead listener, man. Me and Tom York are best fucking mates, or Poopy Man in this case. If the number was like real, non-skewed, then it was like, you know, you're like a top 30% fan, you know, good job on you. It's like, oh, fuck this, man. And it definitely makes us sort of more inclined to use Spotify so that, you know, listen to more Radiohead on Spotify so that we get, you know, the fucking top 0.0001%, you know, like, yeah, I'll fucking listen to more Radiohead than all of you dickheads. You're more likely to post your Spotify Wrapped on social media if you can flex about being a top 1% Poopy Man listener. That obviously is just free advertising for Spotify. It's why everyone's copying now with fucking YouTube and Apple Music. But yeah, there we go. So that's how we're all top 1% fans, top 0.1% fans, why Spotify does it, and sort of, you know, all the numbers and stuff. Really, this is just my theory, but you know, I am a genius, so there's that. Anyway, I'm gonna go listen to My Bum Is Itchy now, so goodbye.